What's going on, everybody? You're listening to the Point2Point NHL Recap Show, Season 2, Episode 33. Mark, we just had the draft today. We're going to be talking about free agency and doing a bunch of predictions for UFAs and RFAs. Of course, free agency starts on Tuesday, July 1st, so that's going to be a hell of a day, man. We get the holiday up north here for Canada Day, so I'm going to be sitting around all day watching the free agent frenzy on Sportsnet. Mark, what are your plans, though, for Canada Day and free agency?
Yeah, honestly, dude, same thing as you. I'm off work. I'm probably just going to be hanging out. It should be a pretty interesting day. Depending what happens with the Marner situation, we'll get into it. If it happens before July 1st, I mean, there's some pretty top end players off the market, but there's a lot of interesting pieces that can move around. So I'm definitely interested to see what happens if some other teams just following the draft will continue to add or subtract from their roster as well. So I'm just going to be hanging out, dude, and just seeing what honestly what some of these teams are going to do in the offseason, because I think get really interesting.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of moves we could see happen. Even we have seen some moves happen with Dobson, of course, like Bennett's re-signed as well. But there still are some pretty decent names here left going into July 1st. But I agree with you, dude. Like, if Marner moves, that really could shake things up. Let's start off with our first forward we have up, though. It's Gabe Vilardi. Of course, he is an RFA. Mark, what do you think a contract for him may look like?
Yeah, I mean, RFA right winger. He's been playing like top 6 minutes on Winnipeg. Honestly, been pretty good since he's got there. Like, he had that solid improvement of a season with the LA Kings a couple years ago. He was involved in that Dubois deal that came over here. But I think because of the amount of points he had this year and with the cap going up, I see him as more of a player that probably wants to try and cash in long term. Um, I probably think he's in. If he could get an 8 year deal, I think he would try to do it. I don't know if he's going to. Um, but I think ideally you're probably looking at somewhere in the 6 year range. And I'm thinking maybe with the cap going up, like, is 7.5 a really too high of a number for a guy like Gabe Vilardi? My question is like more like, I see, what do you see him as? Because like I see Gabe Vilardi as like a really good point producing, um, like he's pretty versatile, right? Like, he's a big body, but like he can score goals. And like, to be honest with you, before he started even producing with the Kings, like he was very defensively responsible, right? Like, he just kind
Yeah.
of never really popped off. So it's like, I like Gabe Vilardi a lot. And it's like, I think if he ever became available, like via trade, I think a ton of teams would be interested, knowing he's like capable of playing with very good players and like producing at like a top six level, right? I think that the thing with him is he has been injured a couple times. So maybe you are a little bit scared to go long term with him, but I think a guy like that can probably get it. And I don't think 7.5 is too high of a number. Maybe it is high, but I don't think it's too ridiculous of a number for a guy like him, to be honest, with the cap going up.
No, I'm all with you on that, dude. When I look at Gabe Vilardi, first of all, looking at his side, he's 25 years old, right? So I, I I do think he is going to be trying to sign an 8 year deal if he can, because the other thing is with this new CBA coming into place, rumor is that it's going to be maxed out at 7 years and then 6 years if you're signing in free agency, right? So I think he might be a guy that's looking at it like I almost rather cash in and get those 8 years than maybe take some sort of bridge deal. And then looking at it from Winnipeg's side, if you're Winnipeg, it's like you already have such a tough time keeping players around or going out and getting like big name free agent players, right? So it's like when you have a player like this who's willing to resign, he's an RFA, like I'd be comfortable giving him that 8 years despite his injury history. As you mentioned, the $7.5 million range, I think that's pretty fair, to be honest. Like, you're looking at a guy this season that put up 61 points in 71 games, right? I think it's somewhat of a similar comparable for production wise might be JJ Paterka, who just signed for over $7 million, right? Like Paterka is a little bit younger. They play a bit of a different style of a game, but I think production wise, they kind of had similar production this year, and you give a bit of an edge to Velarde in the fact that he can play the wing and he can play center if you need him to, right? So like you depending on how Winnipeg's lineup looks, like you could potentially run Scheifele as your first line center and then bump Velarde down and have him playing second line center. So I think that if I'm Winnipeg, 7 to 7.5, I'm fully comfortable giving it out to Velarde because you're gonna need talent like that. And with Ehlers most likely on the way out too, like you can't be losing both these guys or signing Velarde to some sort of bridge deal and then having him leave after.
I think that's pretty fair, dude. And I honestly don't really mind using. He is a different player than Paterka, like you said, but it's like it's kind of in the same range, right? And I feel like
Yeah.
um, you might be betting on the upside with the extra couple years with Paterka and like how young he is. But I mean, with Velarde, I feel like he's a little bit more of a hard nosed type player, even though he is older. You're right. You might even pay that little tiny bit of a tax, a couple $100,000 of it's Winnipeg, right? And like they just want guys to stay there. And it seems like he likes it there, right? So I guess my only concern with that would just be like the injury history a bit. But I mean, you're not going to be paying him to be like a top end guy.
Yeah.
Uh, like it kind of like point producing wise, yeah, but it's like it's not like he's like your 1A, right? Like he could probably play on the first line, but it's like I don't think he's a first line player, right? But I think he's a very solid top six player. Like I think a lot of teams would be interested if he became available. And I'd be totally comfortable with the cap going up paying him like yeah, $7 to $8 million.
Yeah, I for sure would be happy with that if I was both sides. Looking at another player in the Central Division, this one for me is very interesting on what a contract's going to look like. It's Marco Rossi on the Minnesota Wild. Of course, there's very strong rumors that he is going to be on his way out of Minnesota. Honestly, I thought something Mark was going to happen here going into the draft or even before the draft, and no movement happened with him, right? Like the team that was heavily linked was Montreal, and they made their big move, getting Noah Dobson on that day. What do you think a Marco Rossi contract looks like, though?
My question to you would be let's say, okay, so the reason Minnesota hasn't traded him apparently is because they've been pretty underwhelmed with the value that they'd be getting back. Honestly, I think that's kind of nuts considering they got offered the 15th overall pick plus in like for him by Vancouver.
Yeah,
Okay, my question is he on Minnesota or is he on a different team? Because I think it matters, to be honest with you.
I'll leave it up to you. I'll leave it up to you to decide if he's on a different team.
Okay. Fuck. All right, I'll say he doesn't get traded and he gets a bridge deal. Um, I'm going to say a 2 year deal at 4.5.
4.5 million.
Yeah.
See, this is a hard one for me, man, because if I'm Minnesota, like I would have traded him going into the draft, but them holding on to him and now you have him on your team going into July 1st, it really does shake things up because to be honest, like I think this is a player that we could see get offer sheeted, right? Like looking at the offer sheet compensation right now, if you're paying a guy between 4.5 to $7 million, that's a first round pick and a third round pick. So if you're
Yeah.
Minnesota, like when you're offered that 15th overall pick plus, why are you accepting that trade? Because now if he's gonna get off, like if he's gonna get offer sheet for 7 by 8 on the or 8 years by 7 million or 7 by 7, pardon me, on the dot, like you're not getting the same return. And then if you're in Minnesota, you're putting a pretty iffy position. Like, could you see him get an offer sheet at all or no?
Yeah, like fuck me, like maybe to be honest with you, like I don't maybe not like right away. Like it could be kind of a later on thing, but like the more you say it like that, like I guess it's pretty possible that it could happen. Like, okay, I'm just going off of like kind of like reports that I'm hearing about him. Like Frank Saravalli even said that they are totally willing to like get futures for him and prospects or picks or whatever they think that is equivalent, and flipping those picks to get like another center. Like they are totally willing to do that. It's not about the fit in the player. Okay, so my
Yeah.
question is, sorry, not really a question. The question is, here's what I think is a good fit, dude. Okay, if they want to make a trade, and I think they could better their team, and if they want to use other assets to go get another centerman, they can, and I think they'd be totally willing to. I honestly, at this point, dude, I totally look at St. Louis wants a center, send him to St. Louis plus something else, and try to get Kyrou.
Yeah.
I honestly think it's a very good fit. And obviously, it'd leave a pretty big hole in the center, but like, I think he'd be totally willing to spend other assets to try and go get a center, maybe try to sign one if they think there's an appropriate fit there and an upgrade. But like, they obviously just traded Freddie Gaudreau as well. So it's like, they're not necessarily down to center because they have Yakov Trenin still. But like, you know what I mean? Like, they've really got to make a decision here of what they're going to do. Like, I think the contract could look totally different if he's traded. Like, to be honest, I think a team that would trade for him and believe in him would probably give him like a 6-year deal or something. Because apparently, I don't know if it was right after they were eliminated or right before the playoffs, he was offered 5x5, and he was just not even close to interested in taking that. And honestly, I don't think I would be either. I think that, like, for a guy that has only played a couple years full time in the NHL, but considering he's really young still. The problem with him is he's a smaller player, right? And it's like his first, I'd say, 25 games to 30 games in the NHL were really rough in accordance to producing points. And then he started to kind of get in the hang of things, and he's scored over 20 goals the last 2 seasons. He had 40 points 2 years ago. He got up to 60 points this year. It's like he's still 23 years old, and there's a lot of people that just don't think he can hit like a very much higher level. And it's like, I just don't necessarily know if I agree with that, to be honest with you, even though he's small. It's like, I think he could probably get like 70 to 75 points, maybe not consistently, but it's like, I think he's going to be a top 6 center. To be honest with you, all I've heard is Minnesota going forward. The thing with him is they don't see him as their top 6 center. They don't think that he fits the 2C, the hole. And that's why they're trying to move him. So my question at the same time is, if you don't think that he has that much value and he's going to be that good, then why aren't you accepting the 15th overall pick?
Yeah.
It's just a very confusing situation to me with Marco Rossi. And I honestly feel like at this point, they're just not going to get enough value for him, and they're going to keep him and try to bridge him. And then he's going to be a 25-year-old RFA again, probably, or maybe even at some point in the middle of this contract, he'll get traded.
See, and if Minnesota goes that route, like that's where I think he gets offer sheeted, and he'd sign the offer sheet. Like I'm gonna say, I think he's gonna get a 6 or 7 year deal at $6.5 to $7 million. Because if you're,
I think that's completely fair, to be honest with you.
And like, there's teams out there that would offer sheet him. Like, if you're the Carolina Panthers, right, like you need a no, but
Carolina Panthers.
we know they're not, or sorry, Carolina Hurricanes. We know they're not scared of the offer sheet thing, right? Like they got a lot of draft capital, pardon me, already from the trades they made this season. We know they need another top 6 centerman. Like, if you're Carolina, would you not maybe offer sheet him?
I like the thought process. I don't really necessarily know if it's a fit. If you really see, if you envision like Stankoven as a top 6 player, and you already have Jarvis there too, like it's not like Aho's like overwhelmingly like a massive guy either. So it's like I don't really like the fit for Carolina, to be quite honest with you. But it's like I think he could fit as a 2C on like a bunch of different teams, to be honest. And like one like was Vancouver. Like I think he would be a good fit there, 100%. So I don't know. Like it just the situation's confusing because he's still so young. It's like you've seen the improvement in him the past 2 years. This is also a guy that missed basically an entire season. 'Cause I think he had 4 goals in 16 games. Like it's not like Aho's like overwhelmingly like a massive guy either. So it's like I don't really like the fit for Carolina, to be honest with you. But it's like I think he could fit as a 2C on like a bunch of different teams, to be honest. And like one like was Vancouver. Like I think he would be a good fit there, 100%. So I don't know. Like it just the situation is confusing because he's still so young. It's like you've seen the improvement in him the past 2 years. This is also a guy that missed basically an entire season because of an
Yeah.
injury he sustained, like some sort of back injury through him getting COVID, which caused him to miss a bunch of games, right? Um, so it's like I almost even envision him as like a 22-year-old prospect at this point, and it's like he's putting up 60 points. Like I get he's smaller, and it's like I don't know, man. Like it's like I don't think Marco Rossi's going to become like I'm not saying he's going to become like a 90, 100 point player, but it's like I don't even think he's going to become a point per game player. But it's just like I still think he has a little bit more upside. And it's like the thing with him is it's like he's 5'9", 192, and it's like all I remember from this guy's draft year because he ended up going I think it was like ninth overall or
Yeah, it was.
whatever it was, right? Is like dude, this guy's like balancing on like a board in the middle of the forest, and it's like just like absolute insanity the balance that this guy has, and it's like the strength in his lower body. It's like not comparing him to Sid, but it's like Sid has a body like that, so it's not like having a body like that can't lead to like success in the NHL, right? Like he's a very grindy guy, but it's like he's also skilled. So it's
Yeah.
like I envision him being like a top six centerman. To be honest with you, I think if he's your 1C, it's a problem. But it's like I think he could be a producing top six centerman, and it's like he also plays the style where like he could be successful in the playoffs. And it's like the problem is though is like, do you think that it might almost get to a point where it's like what Paterka just did with Buffalo, where it's like Buffalo didn't really want to move Paterka, right?
Yeah.
Like it kind of came down to him like almost forcing his way out. Like, do you think because at the end of the season, Rossi was like I envision myself like I'm a 2C. And it's like he's playing on the fourth line in the playoffs. So it's like, do you think he kind of sees that as like a problem going forward? Or it's like, or maybe if they even acquire someone, like, you know what I mean? That like puts him down the depth chart. Is he kind of like, okay, like it's not really going to work out here anymore. Like I'd like to go somewhere else. Like, what do you think?
See, I think he's gonna look at it that way, where it's like he's not in a great situation right now, and like let's say even if was just if he was to sign a bridge deal, like there's still that big worry that you know how the team feels about you, and you know that at some point they're probably gonna want to move on from you. So it's like if you're getting offer sheeted, like why would you not want to sign that, right? It's like you're probably going to be getting a higher AAV. You're going to be going to a team that actually wants you on that team. And then the other thing is like you don't have to worry about your whole um where am I in the lineup? Am I going to get traded at some point compared to if you're staying with Minnesota, right? So like I'm just looking at it like Minnesota really hasn't done him too many favors here over the past year. And it's like if a team comes along and gives him a good offer sheet, and it's a good scenario for him and a good fit. Like I see him signing that offer sheet, and I think Minnesota's quite frankly going to really look at how they've handled the whole Rossi situation over the past couple months and the negotiation talks and then the trade talks, and I think they're really going to regret how it's going to play out. Let's take a look at some of the big UFAs now out on the market for the forwards. We'll start off with arguably the biggest UFA player out here. It's Mitch Marner. Mark, this one, it's already getting juicy, and we haven't even hit July 1st yet. Apparently, Vegas, they're in on him really strong, and the Leafs, they're not happy about it. So, have you seen the whole Leafs Vegas thing that's going on with them right now, or no?
Um, Yeah, like I mean, I was listening to like Friedman's podcast and whatever, then him talking about how all I really heard is that if he ends up signing there, they're probably going to file like a tampering
Yeah.
thing. Like, so is that why they're trying to trade him there?
So,
Like now at this point, like that I'm not really up to date with. I always just saw Friedman's update about what's going on. Nick Walk could be going the other way, kind of thing. But the situation is pretty confusing to me. But you get into it first because I don't really know exactly what's going on.
Yeah, so the rumor is that if Mitch Marner signs in Vegas, that Toronto is going to file for tampering against the Vegas Golden Knights. But then I guess Toronto is also saying to Vegas at the same time, if we do a sign and trade and we get some assets back, then we won't file for tampering. So like if Mitch Marner was to get traded to Vegas for Nick Waugh, and then he was able to sign the longer contract, of course, then the Leafs would look at it and be like, "Okay, we're not going to file the tampering case anymore." I just find that whole scenario pretty
So like, do
pretty
they have?
weird.
So they must have some sort of leverage over someone doing something, right? See, I
Yeah.
don't know. I hate the whole tampering shit thing because I feel like it just happens like all the time, and like every team does it. And at this point, like it's just like whoever's gonna get caught, like you know what I mean with it. But like my question is more like, why can't the Leafs just be like, yeah, okay, we won't like file tampering charges if you give us like Nick Waugh and like a third, okay? Why can't they just get Nick Waugh and a third and then still do it?
Yeah, it's true.
Like
Just
I
completely
don't
hold them
know.
hostage.
Like I guess they have some sort of proof on it. Like I don't know. It seems really weird to me.
No, yeah, it is really weird, and I wonder what like the tampering is going to be for, right? Like, is going to be the fact that he flew out there? Was there somebody in the organization that was having conversations with him? It'll be interesting to see what that is. But Mark, what do you think a contract for Marner looks like?
All right, so I mean that makes me a little bit less confused about the contract situation. I feel like because it seems like he's not really interested in signing an 8-year contract. It seems like he wants to get another contract in a couple of years. Um, so with Mitch Marner, to be honest with you, I'm gonna go a 4-year deal, paying him 12.25 a year with Vegas.
I think that's a, I think that's interesting. I think it's going to be anywhere from 12 to 12 and a half. I'm kind of with you on that. And yeah, I also do think it is going to be a shorter contract because if he's looking at it, he's 28 right now. You sign a 4-year deal that takes you to your 32, and then you could sign another 4 or 6 year deal after when the cap's even gone up even more.
Well, in four
So
years, the cap could be $36 million more right now if it goes up $9 million a year, like it's supposed to for the next 5 years, right? So he probably thinks he can probably even get a better contract at that point, right? Probably another 4-year deal or something. Maybe even gets like 15 mil on that next contract.
yeah,
Who knows the way we're evaluating players in 4 years from now, right? In accordance to contracts, but yeah, I mean, like it's not what I would have really predicted if I didn't have like information from insiders, but it seems like he wants to do a short-term deal, and he was even open to the fact of doing a 2 or 3 year deal before. But I feel like he's going to want a little bit of security and probably not want to like go buy a house for like a 2-year deal. Maybe if he decides to leave or something after, but
yeah,
um, I think he can probably maximize his earnings on like a 3 or 4 year deal. But I'm gonna go a 4-year deal, and I just don't think the money's going to be as insane because he's signing with a pretty good team. I just think at this point he's probably just ready for a change, and he knows that they're going to compete. But I mean, news came out today that Alex Pietrangelo is not playing next season, so that frees up 8.8 million in cap space. Like Vegas doesn't even need to trade anyone to get cap compliant after they would sign Marner now. So I think it's a pretty good situation, but I also just don't see a ridiculous contract that a lot of people were speculating, like maybe a month
yeah.
ago or so.
The other thing too with the 12 million is if it is in Vegas where he signs, it's a no income tax state, right? So that's gonna help out for both him and the team getting that AAV a bit lower. Looking at the next big name on forward out on the market, it's Nikolai Ehlers from the Winnipeg Jets. Mark, I think this is a guy that's on his way out. I don't really think he's going back to Winnipeg whatsoever. What do you think a contract's going to look like for him?
Yeah, I mean, I think that Ehlers is a really solid player. He's pretty versatile in the fact that he plays both wings. He's very speedy, but like he does have a little bit of an edge to his game with some high end skill, right? I think when you're looking at Ehlers, though, it's like there's been problems of like consistency to stay healthy. Um, I mean, like his playoff stats are pretty good. Like they're not like insane at the same time. So it's like if you're looking at a guy to necessarily just like bring you over the edge to win the cup, it's like not. I'm not saying he can't do it. It's just like there hasn't really been like a lot of proof to show me that like he's a guy I can like count on like to do it all the
Yeah,
time. You know what I mean? Um, I don't know. I think with Ehlers, he's probably trying to get a 7-year deal for sure. He is coming off a 7-year deal at the same time, right? He is 29. It would take him to 36. Like, I don't think that that's too insane, right? And I think the way he skates at the same time, like it's like I'd be okay giving him a 7 year deal. I think if the money isn't too crazy, but I think we're probably looking at. I'm gonna go 8.2 million by 7.
That's see for me when I look at him, I more think it's going to be a five-ish year deal, around 8.5. I just like looking at Ehlers. I just don't think he's proven enough throughout his career to be a guy that's getting an 8 year deal, to be honest. I know it's changed a bit recently where like we're giving everybody 6, 7, 8 year deals, but I just look at Ehlers like is Ehlers a if you're trying to win a Stanley Cup, Ehlers is not going to be your number one guy, right? He's probably like
Like to be fair, he was good in the playoffs this year, though. Like I mean, I was kind of ripping his playoff performance. Like he did have 5 goals, but I mean, like I don't know. I guess just previously it hasn't been like the same, you know.
he'll be a guy that's in your top six, but I don't think he's going to be the guy that's leading you to the Stanley Cup Finals or leading you to a Stanley Cup. I'm just looking at it like, do you really want to be paying a 30? I get the caps going on up and everything, but do you really want to be paying a 36-year-old Ehlers 8.5 million? If I'm a team, I don't really know if I want to be in that kind of area. I think I'd be more comfortable doing a 5 year deal where I look at Ehlers and where I think the difference between a 5 year deal and a 7 year deal is it really depends on how many teams are going to be in on it, right?
So my that was going to be my question. So how many teams do you think are going to be in on it? Like a range.
I'm going to say it really depends on. I feel like it really depends on a couple other players on the market, like the Mariners, the Brad Marchand, maybe Brock Besser a little bit, but I could see if there's
Okay, would you say 7 to 10 teams is an outrageous number? Like
see,
calling and inquiring and saying what he wants and like saying they're interested?
I don't think that's outrageous, but I think like realistically, it's going to be more 3 to 5 teams that are really going to be in the sweepstakes.
Okay, but do you not think three, 2 to 3 of those teams would be willing to give him a 7 year deal? Like, I get what you're saying.
Yeah,
Ideally, I would be comfortable giving him 5 years. I agree with you. I would prefer to give him 5 years. But I just look at it like it's not kind of the same thing as when we're talking about Velarde. Like, Winnipeg has complete control over him.
yeah, he
Like,
does.
he's going to, like Ehlers is going to market. And, like, he's a guy who's produced in the NHL, right? And you're talking about other guys that haven't really even produced a whole ton, and they're getting 7 and 8 year deals. So it's like, when I see Nikolai Ehlers hitting the market, it's like I think if he wants it enough, and like I haven't heard anything to say that he doesn't, he could get a 7 year deal. That's just the way
Yeah,
I'm thinking about it. Ideally, I agree with you. I'd be totally way more comfortable giving him a 4 or 5 year deal. I would 100% because of the injury history. He hasn't really top end produced, but it's like he's looked like a top end player at points, but um, I just don't think the consistency has proven it enough where I can like kind of be like, okay, this guy's like my anchor, like I'm gonna ride with this guy. But I think he's a very good secondary piece, and it's like maybe he builds off this playoffs this year and like he gets better going forward, right? But where do you see him landing? Like what? Like so, I'll give you my pick. So I think that it came out that like he doesn't really love the huge market kind of thing. I think that's
yeah.
why he's kind of interested in moving on. Maybe he just does want a fresh start at the same time. Like he's been playing on the team since 2015, right? So, I honestly see him landing a team with a lot of cap space and could probably use a top six winger. I see him going to Carolina.
You see him going to Carolina?
Yeah, I do. I think he'd be a good fit there, to be honest.
See, I
Depending on
think
how much money he would take to go there, right? Like maybe he takes like a 7 by 7 or something, but like I think he's really going to try and I think he's definitely going to try and maximize his earnings.
I think Carolina's definitely a good fit. Team I'm kind of looking at as maybe a bit of a question mark. I don't know if you consider them, I guess they probably are a big market team, but I was thinking maybe the Red Wings. I think that could be an interesting one.
Really,
Yeah.
really.
They
Wow,
need they,
I don't see that at all, to be honest,
you don't
dude.
see it.
I think they're totally interested in signing Kane still. I think that they just think they have more players on the way. That I think that if Ehlers kind of gets signed to a deal there, I think he might. Um, I think it might block some guys that they might envision coming up and filling those spots. To be honest with you, I don't see the. I would like to be honest with you. Even when I was thinking 7 to 10 teams, like I honestly don't think I would have had the Red Wings on there. That,
See,
in my opinion, at least. What is it? Just like maybe for like immediate help, I guess. But like, okay, I honestly think that they are one of the teams in on Evander Kane because I think they could use that. But it's also like you could say, yeah, it's a top six forward, but like you're only committing to him for a year, right? It's
yeah.
like with Ehlers, it's like 7 years, possibly. Maybe it's 5, right? But it's going to be on the longer side for term, right? So I don't know. I don't know if I really envision Detroit. But yeah, I would agree. It's probably a bigger market than maybe he'd want.
See, honestly, like I do think Carolina is probably the favorite to land him, and I think he probably has Carolina as one of his favorite markets. I guess for my reasoning, looking at Detroit, I'm just looking at it like I think they more do need immediate help, right? Like this is a team that's hasn't been in the playoffs at all recently. The fan base really is pushing for the team to get into the playoffs. Like I think Stevie Y might be starting to get a little bit desperate here because they need to make the playoffs, and if they're not in the playoffs within the next couple of years, like his job is going to be severely on the line.
Okay, here's another place that I'm thinking of. But tell me if you think this might contradict what I said about blocking young players. What about Columbus?
That could be an interesting one. It could be an interesting one, to be honest.
They got a
Like,
ton of cap space, dude. They're looking to make their team better, right? So I don't know.
yeah,
Just like it's like, but like at the same time, you could be like, bro, they got Voronkov and Sillinger and like Fantilli, and they got all these young players and Chinnikov. So it's like,
Johnson.
yeah, like do they decide to maybe move on from one of them to bring in an Ehlers? But I don't know. I think Ehlers might be a little bit too much of like it's like it's not like they don't have speed and skill already, like kind of thing, right? So it's like I don't know if
Yeah.
they would really that maybe that's the guy they're kind of looking for, to be quite honest. Do you see like a team like LA going after him?
See, honestly, when you were asking me what team do I think would be the favorites, I was gonna say LA after you said Carolina. But the whole big market thing, like if he doesn't want to play in a big market, there's no way he's gonna want to play in LA.
Hmm.
It's like I agree, maybe like fan base, like maybe fan base, it's not the biggest market in that sense, but in the sense it's like your day-to-day life, you're gonna be driving 2.5 hours to get to your practice facility, and then 2.5 hours to get back home, and then 2.5 hours down to downtown LA to get to the Staples Center. Like if he's a guy that doesn't really want to be in a big market in that sense, I don't really know how much of a fit LA would be. I think when you look at on paper, LA would be a great fit, right? Like you're getting another score in the top six there, which they kind of need. But
Would you? This might be a huge wild card, but do you think he would have any interest in signing a 7 year deal and going to San Jose
I don't know. He's 29.
to
Like,
grow with the young guys? Really depends what he's looking for, dude. Right?
yeah,
Like I'm not saying he's not wired to win a Stanley Cup, but I don't know, dude. Some guys like don't really think of that as the primary, right?
yeah, and you're
Like Ehlers has been making 6 mil a year for 7 years. He's made pretty good money, but I would argue that he's maximized his contract. Like I think Ehlers is no doubt like $42 million over 7 years. Like I would pay him that in a heartbeat to do that again. You know what I mean? But like so maybe he kind of thinks like I haven't been paid enough. Like what I'm saying is like a team like San Jose could be like, hey, Ehlers, here's an 8.5, $9 million for 7 years for you to
yep.
play in our top six with our young players. It's not like it hasn't happened before, dude. Like what I'm saying is like you know what I mean? Like I'd say it's unlikely. Like I'd probably throw out like a 10 to 15% chance of it probably happening, but like I just really wonder if he would be open to the possibility. Like it's not
Yeah,
like I know you're saying LA it's a bigger market, but San Jose's not.
yeah, it's not the
Like
biggest
really.
market. You're still in the nice weather. Like if you're Ehlers, you're also maybe looking at it like I'm going from playing in Winnipeg to playing and sitting beachside in between games on my off days, right?
And like he would be a great guy to learn from, right? With
Yeah,
like for the young guys, right? Like I don't know, maybe it might not happen, but like I don't think it's that insane of like a proposal. Like I'm sure they'll probably maybe they don't like Ehlers specifically, but like they'll probably reach out to a lot of these UFAs, like see if
yeah,
where their
for
heads
sure.
at, see if they're interested. Like just inquiring about it is probably like doing the bare minimum, right? If you have interest in signing the player,
It's
really, no matter what team you are.
it's definitely going to be interesting to see what happens with the Ehlers because I feel like after Marner, he's definitely in that like second tier of free agents for the forward group. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens along with some of these other guys. Let's move on and talk about Stanley Cup champion Brad Marchand. Mark, what's your prediction for him?
Yeah, it's been a tough one because I feel like there hasn't really been a lot of um, at least public news about Marchand when it comes to like signing and stuff. Um, yeah, he's 37. Guy's coming off a fucking incredible playoff performance where he probably really close to actually winning the Conn Smythe, right?
Yeah,
Um, I think I think this is also another guy. It really just depends if it's in Florida or not. If I was him though, dude, like I feel like it'd be nuts to leave over like a couple $1 million. Like, don't you?
that
Okay,
you
like if he was offered like 9 mil for 4 years, say, like I still think I prefer to stay with Florida for like 6 mil a year.
at the end of the day, the money kind of works its way out with the no like the income tax, right? But
Yeah.
see, I
I'm gonna say he re-signs with Florida 6.5 by 3. That's my final prediction.
that's exactly what I was gonna say. I think he's signing with Florida for 6.5 by 3. The reason I think he's really gonna re-sign with Florida is, bro, this guy's in Cancun right now, right? It's like you're looking at some of the free agents. You got Mitch Marner who's flying into Vegas, touring some neighborhoods in Vegas, right? Like most of these free agents aren't going to Cancun to get pissed drunk with their buddies when where they just won the cup. I think Marchand. There's no doubt that he's going to re-sign in Florida, dude.
Did you see what Pierre LeBrun said though recently about it?
No,
He said, as we wait to see Brad Marchand's decision with Florida, several teams, including Boston and Toronto, hope to talk to him come Tuesday when the market opens if he doesn't re sign with the Cup champs. The Bruins would certainly be open to bringing him back, but again, perhaps Marchand re signs with Florida. So I don't know. It's kind of up in the air. Maybe it's not like it's a guy where it's like he needs to sign right before July 1st to
yeah,
maximize like an 8 year deal or something. That's not happening with Brad Marchand, but um, I just think it would be nuts for him to leave. To be honest, dude, I just think that he wanted to go there so bad. It's like, dude, he picked like the team he was on for his entire career. He picked like their like most recent rival to get traded to, wins a Stanley Cup with them. It's like I don't really understand why you would leave at this point. Like I get
he's
you never got like a huge payday considering like what you provided, but it's like I don't know, man. You can still make a good amount of money and like the guy's a character, dude. Like he could be in commercials and like probably on they would love to have him on TV like when he retires, right? So it's like I think there's plenty of opportunity for him to earn a lot more money. Like you know what I mean, moving forward. So he's made a lot of money in his career, but it's like it would just be nuts to me to see a guy like Brad Marchand make that decision to like maybe it is he gets $10 million more offered to him, but I still feel like signing with the Panthers is the right decision.
yeah, and he's the type of guy too that post career he's going to make a shit ton of money doing some sort of media, right? Like I could see him being a guy that's on the TNT panel with Biz. But even I'm looking at his career earnings right now. He's still made $72 million throughout his entire career. Like that's still a pretty decent chunk of change, right? If you're signing in Florida 3 years, making another 10 million, it's like Why would you leave, as
Yeah,
you said? This next guy, we know he's for sure leaving, Mark. There's no way he's returning to the Vancouver Canucks. It's Brock Besser. For me, I'm looking at this. I think he's gonna 7 year deal worth 8 million, and I think it's gonna be from the Minnesota Wild. What do you think he's gonna get?
getting right into it, eh? Pretty spicy take. Um, Dude, I agree. I feel like he's probably one of the top scoring players on the market just by even just like getting 50 points last year, right? But he's shown that he can produce high end when he's playing with really good players. Another guy, I feel like when he's probably at his best, he's a first line player, but there are a lot of kind of inconsistencies in Besser's game, I think, where it's like I don't really trust him as a first line player all the time. Um, but I think just him hitting the open market, 28 years old, still pretty young. Contract, a 7 year deal would take him to 35. Um, I think not that there would be ever be like a bidding war per se over him. I think there's going to be a lot of teams calling and and interested. Um, but I honestly I agree in the sense that if Minnesota say doesn't go out and make a move for Jordan Kyrou, I think that they could be totally willing in the sweepstakes to land Brock Besser, considering he is a Minnesota guy. They are a team that struggles to score goals, and he would honestly, I think it's just not even with where he lives. I just think he'd probably be a pretty good fit.
The other thing too that I'm looking at for Minnesota is there's still the whole Kirill Kaprizov scenario that's coming up for them, right? Like, is he going to stay? Is he not going to stay? If you're the Wild, you got to go out and prove to him this next year that like you guys are dedicated to being a competitive team and really make a reason for Krill to look insane if he wants to leave the Wild, right? And it's like if Minnesota kind of continues down like they do have some good young prospects coming up, I will say. But if they kind of continue down this path as they've been for the last few seasons, where they're kind of a bubble playoff team, getting in but not really making any noise in the playoffs, and it's like I it puts you in a bit of a weird position for Krill, where it's like if you go out, you sign Brock Besser, like another top six forward, you show him that like you really are dedicated to being a competitive team, then I think it maybe helps you out in the whole Krill Kaprizov negotiations a little bit.
I'll be completely honest with you, dude. I think there's going to be a ton of teams calling him. Like I
Besser?
think even more
Yeah.
teams might be calling Besser than Ehlers. Um, I think some other potential landing spots. Um, Carolina, I think would definitely be interested.
Yeah.
I think with the Jets losing Ehlers, they would definitely be interested in getting him. Um, I honestly as well, dude, I see LA, I see Chicago interested, I see probably even Boston at the same time. Like they want to be pretty aggressive on this retool here, right? Like
Yep.
I think, dude, I've even been hearing that like Edmonton is interested, depending what the price is.
I'm not
So
surprised by that, but I don't know how
yeah, like they
realistic it
could get
is.
another scoring winger. I don't really know how you make that fit. Um, All right, so question for you at the end of the day. Which player gets the higher AAV in free agency? Nikolai Ehlers or Brock Besser? Not total contract, AAV.
That's a tough one,
Making you
dude.
think, dude, because what's that?
That's a tough one, man. It's a tough
Dude, I'm
one.
pretty sure you had them at the same AAV, or maybe one was 250K more. So that's
I'm
why
gonna
I asked you the
say
question.
I'm gonna say Besser gets more.
Yeah, I've been even hearing that some teams like would even be willing to go eight
Yeah.
and a half or closer to nine on him. I guess it really depends, like if all these teams that I'm listing are interested. Like a lot of these teams I'm listing like have cap space, but at the same time like are in need of like a goal scorer, right? So it's like I think a lot of teams could be calling, but I just and I think be even more teams that are really good that would be interested, but I just think it's going to be out of the range contract wise. Like
Yeah.
I think if you were a team and you're like we're legitimately interested in bringing in Brock Besser, I think it would 100% be over half of the NHL, probably even top maybe even 20 teams, but it's like a lot of teams can't really afford them, right?
Yeah, it's definitely gonna be interesting to see where he goes. I think he's gonna have a lot of callers come July 1st, dude. Let's move on and talk about the last free agent forward we have. It's Mikael Granlund. This is an interesting one, Mark. I feel like there's going to be a lot of teams in on him, dude. Like he's a second, third line centerman type of guy. He had a really good year last. He's had a really good past 2 years, to be honest. What do you think a contract for him is going to look like?
Yeah, dude, this is one of the contracts I feel like I'm most interested to see like what actually happens. Because he's got kind of a lot of like leg to stand on to get like a pretty high AAV,
Yeah, he
right?
does.
Like the last 2 years, 60.69 games, and then he's coming off with the trade over to Dallas from San Jose,
It eight
66 points in
and
83
83.
games. He played an extra game. So I think a lot of teams, but some teams probably envision that they could fit on their team like as a 2C.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna go Mikael Granlund will hit the open market because Dallas does not look like they can re-sign him whatsoever. I'm gonna say that Granlund is gonna get a 4-year deal, and I seriously think this is gonna be one of the silliest contracts of the offseason. I think he's gonna get 7.75.
I think 7.75.
Yeah,
So what do you have a
I
team
think
in
that
mind? Like, is there a certain team you think like some GM is gonna go out there and be like, we're like we need to send him in that
hear me
bad, or we're
out.
gonna
Winnipeg,
Winnipeg, really?
they got tons of cap space, dude. You okay? My question to you is: do you not think he looks at it and he's like, okay, Brock Nelson just got 7.5. I've been outscoring Brock Nelson.
Yeah.
I can get at least 7.5. I'm not saying it's a good deal. I just think that him hitting the market, I think he's got a leg to stand on with this. With especially at the age that he's at too.
I'm gonna be
Like I
honest,
think he
dude.
can maybe get a 3 to 4 year deal.
I'm gonna be honest. He's a tough one, man, because it's like I don't think he's a $7 million player. I think if I'm like if you're a team, you're probably more comfortable paying him anywhere from 5.5 to maybe 6.5 max, right? But this is where I think you're kind of onto something here with your AAV. He's the best. Dude, he's the best free agent centerman available
I
right
don't know,
now.
dude. It sounds insane, and I think it is insane, but I actually think it's possible. I really do.
Without looking, who's the next best free agent centerman that's available? Do you know off the top of your head or no?
I'm just trying to think with some of the guys signed now. Um, Honestly, one name that comes to mind right away is like Pia Suter.
Pia Suter's the next best. And then after Pia Suter, do you know who the third best free agent centerman is that's available?
Like points wise.
Points wise.
Jeez. Christian Dvorak.
Mason Appleton.
Okay.
That's a top three free agent centerman right now. Like here's a comparable situation that this is kind of looking at. The Chandler Stevenson contract. Like Chandler Stevenson last year got overpaid in free agency.
I don't think when you're like the way you reacted, I get it, but like I don't think you're taking into the fact that this player's hitting the open market and
Yeah,
can sign wherever he wants, and like he can use comparables that was like I had more points than this guy.
yeah. I'll be honest, at first I thought you were a bit crazy, but now that I'm really looking into it more and like, yeah, he's the best centerman free agent. Then after it's Mason Appleton and P. Suter, it's like, bro, I'm with you, dude. Some team's gonna come in here and pay him some ridiculous amount of money that should have no business doing that.
And I can't wait for it, dude. I'm all for it every second. Dude, you know who I honestly even think that might try is Vancouver.
Oh my, if they did
Can you
that,
not see that happening?
I could totally see it happening, but like just sell the team at that point. Like, oh, it's gonna be interesting, man. Who who do you see your top three favorites to give that contract out to would be?
I think because of cap space, I think Winnipeg would be willing to do it and to be able to get a second line center. Um, and it's like it's not like they have a whole ton of like areas that they need to fill either, right? Like I get they could probably use another, but it's like if you get Granlund, it's like I know you're losing Ehlers, but like you're still getting a top six player back, at least as of right now, right? It's like you also got Taves coming in. What is he? And then you also lost Lowry till Christmas because of surgery, right? So I don't know. I just think it's a pretty good fit. Um, I think that who did I say before that I could see doing it? Oh, Vancouver. I
Vancouver.
feel like Vancouver could definitely they would definitely be interested in doing it. I think a fit for Mikael Granlund would be Carolina, considering they have a 2C hole. But I don't think that Carolina would be dumb enough to give that type of
Yeah,
contract out, to be honest. So I don't really see that happening. A dark horse number three, Detroit.
that's an interesting one.
I've heard they're trying to move on from JT Compher, so I don't know. Maybe they think he could be a guy that could fill the hole.
For me,
I don't
the
really see it that likely, but I don't know.
for me the three I'm looking at it's Vancouver. I don't think Winnipeg would do that, to be honest. I respect Cheveldayoff too much. I think he's handed out some pretty good contracts throughout
But do you
his
not think if
career.
it was like a
So
3 year deal, he would almost be like, "Okay, this is like the way we're gonna kind of we have to like acquire the player. Like we got to pay him a little bit more." And it's not like it's like 8 years and like the cap is going up a lot. And it's like if he's still producing, like maybe you see it as you know what? Do you get what I'm saying?
here, if you're Winnipeg though, it's like would you not just rather give that money to Ellers, like pay the extra little bit and give it to Ellers? Because if I'm Winnipeg, like if I'm going to be giving Granlund that much, like I'd rather just fork out the extra money and keep my guy. The team, honestly though, that I'm looking at, dude, that I think has their noses written, giving them 7 million is the Sabres.
Oh God, really?
What it like they they need some veterans.
Oh, I don't think he'd be willing to go there, dude.
I don't think he'd be willing to go there, but I could see Buffalo being a team that would offer that kind of contract.
Yeah, maybe. I feel like it would be. I don't really know if he would fit there at center, but yeah, I mean, if they could get their hands on a vet like that, I'm sure they probably would do it.
Yeah, especially now after you lost Paterka, like you got to kind of fill out that top six a little bit more.
I could see Chicago calling him too.
Yeah, Chicago
Do you
would
think
be
he'd even
interesting
entertain
too.
going back to San Jose? Like he
I
was
don't
good there.
I don't think he would really want to be honest.
That'd be a hell of a trade though if they got him back,
Yeah,
eh?
yeah, and it's like if you're San Jose too, it's like how much how much do you really want him? Because it like you have Celebrini, right? You're gonna have Misa up there at some point. Like, do you want Gramlin there, kind of holding back one of your other young centermen?
I don't think he would though. I think he's pretty versatile where he could play the wing, and I feel like when those guys need the opportunity, he
Yeah,
could go over to the wing. But yeah, maybe it's not really something that they're that really interested in doing.
that's fair. If he makes if Granlund's making $7 million, we gotta we between now and the end of the podcast, I'm gonna come up with something in my head that we're gonna have to do if he makes over $7 million. Okay, we'll come back to that at the end of the podcast though. Right
Yeah.
now, we're gonna talk about some of the best defensemen out on the market. Similar to the forwards, we're gonna start out to with the RFAs. Pardon me. First one we have up, it's Evan Bouchard. Honestly, Mark, I think the Noah Dobson contract with the Canadians kind of it's a pretty decent comparable. I'm gonna say Bouchard's gonna get 8 by 10.5 with the Oilers. What do you think he's gonna be at?
Yeah, pretty similar. I was gonna say like 10.25 to 10.5. I could see him signing with it. Yeah, I feel like that Dobson's probably a really at least firm stepping stone for them. Um, maybe I don't know. Do you think he'd even be like what they're waiting to finalize it kind of thing, just because they're trying to make moves, or do you think like they just really haven't even came to this conclusion yet? Because I feel like how far apart can they be at this point now after this Dobson deal,
Yeah, I think
right?
I think it could be them waiting to finalize it, so they're seeing what it's gonna like, what they can go and do in free agency.
Yeah, and if they make a
Because
trade to like unload a deal or bring a guy in, right?
it's like if you're Edmonton, you really want to get rid of some cap space here this offseason so you can bring in some more help with the team. So I could see Edmonton trying to maybe like it wouldn't surprise me if Edmonton's really trying to get rid of Arvidsson right now, or even maybe a
Yeah, I
Darnell
think they
Nurse. But
are. I think they are trying to get rid of Arvidsson, and I think they've because he's got a no move clause, but I'm pretty sure that he's told them that he is willing for a fresh start.
yeah,
But I'm not really sure where that is. I feel like it would honestly even be more worth it, like if they came to the point, like I wouldn't even hate them just dumping his contract for nothing just to give them the open cap space. I think would even be
same.
like would be better than keeping him. Um, but yeah, I think Bouchard is probably coming in between 10 and 11 million. I envision him taking, yeah, 10 and a half or less, I would say. But I think it's definitely going to be in the double digits. Because I also heard too, like Noah Dobson, like Columbus was super interested, right? And they had a good deal on the table. And apparently with the extension with them, like their AAV was 10 over 10 mil
Wow.
that they were going to give him. So, but I think he really preferred to go to Montreal, and he was willing to take like 500K less or whatever it ended up being to sign with the Habs. So,
Yeah.
I think Bouchard's definitely got a leg to stand on to get like a 10.5. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's yeah, he's gonna be a pricey guy, but it's worth it for Edmonton. The next RFA we have, it's Luke Hughes. This one I think is more likely to be a bridge deal. Mark, do you feel the same here, or is it gonna be a long-term contract, do you think?
Oh, dude, that's kind of interesting. I honestly never really in like bridge deal. Like what do you think?
I was thinking 3 to 4 years. I'm gonna say 3 years, $6 million per year on a bridge deal.
Really? So what would you think? My question would be if Luke Hughes was like, I want 8 years, and you're like, I'll give you 8 years. Like, what do you think a fair AAV for him would be on an 8 year deal?
I think an 8 by 8 would be fair.
Yeah, I don't really think that's too insane to be honest with you. I think that you said a 3 year deal, right?
Yeah, 3 years.
See, my thought process is why I didn't really think that was more like I think they should maybe try to lock him up as long as they can because do you think that there's like any doubt in their mind that like obviously Quinn wants to play with them, right? At some point.
Yeah.
My worry would be like if you signed him to like a 5 year deal, he's expiring the same year Jack is, and it's like, could they decide they want to go elsewhere? Say if Quinn doesn't come to New Jersey in 2 years, maybe he goes somewhere else, or you know what I mean? Or like it decides to stay and it's almost like they team up to go somewhere else. Like you kind of get what I'm saying? Like I guess a 2 or 3 year deal would be like, hey, he's still an RFA. Like Jack's under contract still, so it's like not really a worrisome if they were to like leave. And I'm not saying that they want to leave in any way, and I haven't seen that, but it's like I guess you don't really know, right? If Jack doesn't really experience a lot of success here the next 5 years, like it's not like I think it's out of the realm of possibilities that it could happen, right? But a 3 year deal, 6 million, eh? See, I was thinking more like a 6 or 7 year deal, Like I don't know if he wants to maximize it with 8,
Yeah,
but I would say like I was thinking like a 7x7.
a 7x7. That would
Is that cheaping out a bit? You think though?
see that's and for me that's where I look at it. And I'm looking at it like at where he might be interested in signing a bridge deal is if you're Luke Hughes, like he hasn't really had or fully been able to, I think, prove himself so far in the NHL. Like I'm not saying that he he hasn't been good, but like I think when you look at Luke Hughes, dude, like I think this is a guy that if he was to sign a bridge deal, let the cap go up, and then sign an 8-year deal after, like I could see that being a deal in the double digits if it pays off for him, right? Like I could see this being a guy where he takes a bridge deal and then it pays off like how it did for Dowling with the Sabres, right? But you do bring up a good point though with the whole brothers thing where it does sort of kind of raise though like what is it going to look like for him because
See, I'm gonna be honest with you. When you said it, I didn't realize. I honestly, I just don't think Jack. I've been overestimating how long Jack Hughes has been on this contract because I honestly thought it was over in like 3 years. But like, it's there's still 5 years left. Like, it's a
yeah,
long time, right? So that was more when you said it. I was like, oh shit, like I don't know, but like, yeah. The more you talk about it, I'm kind of more convinced that a bridge deal might be the right move because they are trying to kind of reinvent their bottom six right now, and they are trying to get like tougher to play against up front. And I think the thing at the same time is also that I think that they're committing a lot of money to their defense right now.
that yeah, Dougie Hamilton's like his
Like
contract's going to be
$27 million, $27,700,000 to their defense without Luke Hughes signed to a contract. Right?
seeing
So and that's Jonathan Kovacevic is going to $4 million next year after making 775,000 this year. You've got 5 defensemen right now, not including Luke Hughes, that are making at least $3.4 million a season. And look, it's good to build from the back end out, but it's a lot of money committed to defense. So the more I think about it, maybe they will try to do a bridge deal with Hughes. You still have team control over him in a couple of years. And then it will also lower the AAV, which gives you more flexibility to kind of reinvent your bottom six. And I think that they need to go after kind of like a grindy-ish top six power forward to really make them a harder team to
yeah
play against. So honestly, I'm more with you. Like a 3-year deal at 6 million. I feel like I would sign that if I was the Devils.
yeah I think for both parties it would work out well. Plus, then by the time you're going to have to pay Hughes on his next contract, Dougie Hamilton's going to be done making that 9 million, and then you can almost kind of just flip flop the two, right?
No, 100%. And like the thing is, it's like I think that they might have to make some sort of move on the back end, right? Because it's like they're blocking out some young pieces from playing NHL games, right? And it's not like I think Luke Hughes is being on the move by any means. I think he's the last defenseman on that team that they would move off the roster, but they're going to have to make some decisions, and maybe it does free up more cap to make moves on offense, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like, dude, you got. I honestly think that the Seamus Casey has gone this summer. I think they had too many right-handed shooting defensemen. He's literally the fifth right-handed shooting defenseman on the depth chart, and he like played a decent amount of a couple NHL games last year and was good in the A, and is like I think projects to probably play in the top four on wherever he is in the future. But I think that it's a young asset that teams would value pretty high, having a right-handed shooting defenseman that's like 21 years old and has NHL experience already, that I think they could move to get a forward.
Yeah, I think they're gonna have to make some sort of moves here with their defensemen. They got way too many, and they got, as you mentioned, they got a lot, making a lot of money. Our next UFA defenseman, it's Aaron Ekblad. This one might be the most interesting UFA defenseman on the market because there's a lot of rumors that there might be a team willing to pay him a high AAV, and he walks away from Florida. Of course, he's been in Florida the whole time, two-time Stanley Cup champion there, so there's pretty strong ties there too. Mark, where do you think he's going to end up though?
Yeah. This is an interesting one because, yeah, I don't think by any means, to be honest, like I haven't been on the train that he's staying. I've never really thought he was staying. I think that Zito knows that he's a good defenseman and he's helped them win, but I think he kind of understands that signing this guy to a 7 or 8 year contract at a high AAV might not be a good idea, just considering how much he's been injured. And it's like his offensive production has gone downhill, and it's like he's also not the greatest skater at the same time. So I feel like there's kind of a lot of recipes for like giving him a long term contract isn't the best idea, but I think he is going to get a long term contract. I think someone would be totally willing to give this guy a 7 year deal. I kind of don't really exactly have a team in mind. Um, is there a team that pops out where you're like, I think he's going there? Or is it more like I see a couple teams 100% like definitely calling him on July 1st and making him a serious offer. But I don't know if there's. I think it really depends where, because it's like he's been in Florida, right? So it's like, does he care about like, does he not want to play in a big market? Like, what do you think?
I'm gonna be honest, dude. I think he's staying in Florida, man. I think he's signing an 8 year, $6.5 million deal, and he's staying a Florida Panther.
So do you also have that with Marchand staying too?
I have that with Marchand staying as well, and I have the Florida Panthers trading Evan Rodriguez and clearing up $3 million in cap space there.
Really?
Yep.
Well, according to Elliot Freeman earlier today, the gap between offers between Aaron Ekblad and the Panthers is still too large.
That's
So doesn't mean that they can't result in a contract extension. I don't know, dude. I don't think that you might call me crazy because he just helped them win 2 cups, but I don't think that really giving him this contract is a great idea, depending what the cap hit is.
See, I agree. Depending on what the cap hit is, like if it's over 6.5, I'm moving on, like without a doubt. I just think it's like if you can get him back at 6.5 for 8 years with the salary cap going up and Florida's window being like the next 5 years, it's like who cares if the last 3 years of that deal you're like overpaying him, or the last 3 years of the deal he's like not really playing up to performance because he has a big downfall, right? I'm just looking at like, man, you look at how good him and Gustav Forsling were this season in the Stanley Cup Finals. Like they held McDavid to 1 goal through the Stanley Cup Finals this year. Like I think where I think it's going to be hard is I think it's going to be hard depending on what other teams are offering Ekblad, right? Like if a team comes in is if a team's going to come in and give him an 8x8, then like yeah, it might make it hard for him to go back to Florida.
Well, it would only be 7 years, so that's the thing,
Seven
right?
to
Like
eight, I
they can
guess.
offer the extra year, which will actually matter in accordance to like total
Yeah.
dollars at the end of the day, right? So that's where the advantage is, and with the income tax, right? Like I'm gonna be honest with you, dude. I don't know. I've never really thought that it's that interested. They're that interested in doing it ever since they got Seth Jones. I think they kind of see him as like a good replacement that like skates way better than he does at the same time. And I think that they feel that they can plug that hole with someone that might not actually be as good as them, but can play up to a high level being on that team. That's just the way I kind of see it, to be honest with you. And I feel like at the end of the day, I don't have them like trading Evan Rodriguez. So it's like also with
Yeah.
cap projections that I've been going off of after signing Bennett, after they would give Marchand 6.5 million, I think it wouldn't really be feasible to fit him in at what he would probably end up wanting. Um, have you thought about a team that would be a good fit for him if he hit free agency, or is that really not even crossed your mind? Because I haven't even really given you my answer yet, but like it's like I just don't really know exactly where he's going. I think some teams that are definitely interested in calling him. I think Columbus is calling. I think Carolina is interested. I don't think they're willing to give him a stupid contract though. Um, it's like Buffalo would be calling him in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
I think Detroit is calling. Like, to be honest with you, if they had more cap space, I would even say Dallas.
Yeah.
So it's like I don't know. I think that he might go. I'm gonna say that he signs with. This is hard actually. Like I even heard the Leafs. The Leafs would definitely be interested if they could move out Carlo. No,
Yeah, I've heard that too.
I'm gonna say he gets 7 point. No, fuck. It's just like the reason I'm taking so long to answer is because I'm looking at these teams and what their cap projections are, and it's kind of hard to like 100% figure out like what they'd be able to pay them at the end of the day. Okay, here's my pick. Okay, he's going to Detroit. He's going to get a 7 year deal at $8 million. That's my pick.
That's that's interesting. See, and this is where I look at it, dude. And I'm like, man, if I'm Aaron Ekblad, like, would you rather?
But fuck, that blocks Sandine Pellica though. They wouldn't
It's
do
like,
that. That's a
you know what I
stupid.
mean?
That's
It's
a
like
stupid idea.
if you're Ekblad, would you rather just take the 1.5 million cheaper and stay in Florida, get the extra year, be on a hell of a team?
See, my thing is, it's like I'm not convinced that he would accept 6.5.
I think, see, honestly, dude, I think a lot of this is
Here's my
gonna,
revised pick. He's going to the Leafs, and he's getting a 7 year deal at 7.5. That's my pick.
leaves at 7.5.
Yeah,
That's good.
and they trade
That would
out
be an
Brandon
interesting
Carlo.
one. That would be that'd be an interesting one for the Leafs. If they got him and Marchand, dude, I don't know if that's
I
fully
don't think that's happening, dude.
capable, but
Why wouldn't Florida re-sign if like there's no way they're not
yeah.
getting 2 out of 3 of these guys, I don't think.
Moving on to our next defenseman we have up, Ivan Provorov. Mark, what does a contract for him do you think look like?
Yeah, this is an interesting one that I think that he's a guy he skates well. He kind of like was known to be more offensive like coming into the NHL and even the first couple years with the Flyers. But I think that he's more transitioned into like a two-way guy. He's not really putting up as much points at this point in his career, but like he's pretty reliable defensively, blocks a lot of shots. He's been making, I think it was like just shy of like 6.5 ish on the last contract. I don't know what it was exactly because 6.75 was because there's some salary retainment when he was moved to Columbus. Um, I think here's my mentality because we're gonna get to the other guy he's kind of compared to. Like I think that teams might try for Gavrikov, and if they miss out, go for Provorov.
Yeah,
Um, I think that Provorov, he's 28. I think a team would be willing to give him like a 6 year deal because of the way he skates. Um, I'm gonna go 6 by 6.5. And honestly, you know what? I think he's going to LA if they're losing Gavrikov.
you think they almost don't flip flop, but you think they just replace him with Gavrikov? I'm
Yeah.
gonna I'm with you on the 6 years, dude. I don't think teams are gonna be too interested in giving him an 8 year deal. I think they're gonna be more around the six year mark. But
Like it does take you to 34, but I just look at him and it's
yeah,
like he skates so well that it's like I don't think I'm that concerned about it. You know what I mean?
I'm gonna say he signs a 6 year deal at man. It's hard, dude, with some of these projections. I'm gonna go 6 year deal though. Seven. I'm gonna just go 7 million, and I could see a team like the Red Wings being in on him.
Yeah, I could definitely see that too. I think the Red Wings would definitely be pretty interested in
Like I
bringing
think
in a player.
when you're looking at the Red Wings right now, you got Ben Sherrod as your top pairing left hand shot defenseman, right? Like
No, no, it's Simone Edmondson.
I guess you got Edvinson there. Sorry, but you got Sherratt there in the top four, right? Like if you could get Provorov up there in your top four and then have Sandin Pellikka come in, I think that completely revamps the Red Wings back end. Like you go from having a top four of Seider, Edvinsson, Ben Sherratt, and Justin Hall to Seider, Edvinsson, Provorov, Sandin Pellikka. I think that completely does a 360 on their decor.
Hmm. Never really thought about it. It's actually a pretty good fit, to be quite honest with you. Um, Maybe he does land there.
Is there any
But I
other
know
teams?
I just know LA's definitely interested in replacing Gavrikov, and
Yeah.
it's like I don't think it's like a terrible replacement, to be quite honest with you. Like I would prefer Gavrikov, but um, I wouldn't mind Provorov. Any other team?
Yeah, is there
Um,
any other teams you think maybe
what
in?
my question was going to be like before we get to that? Do you think Columbus like? Do you think they're just like we see Matejchuk as the two LD, and like we're not giving you some ridiculous contract? Because realistically, like Provorov was playing the right side a lot. Like once Matejchuk like made it to the NHL and was playing on the second pair, so it's like I'm like I guess they're kind of like to him like if you're playing in our top four, you're going to be on the right side, like right. So it's like, do you think it's like I wonder if he's just like not okay with that, or like I'm just so curious to see how that went down because everything I'd
Yeah.
heard is that he loved Columbus. They just signed Dante Fabro too now, right?
Yeah, you have
Like
Fabro and
today. For,
Severson both signed on the right hand side there.
so yeah, look, at this point, dude, I think the door is closed on him coming back
I
because I
also
think
think yeah.
You're blocking Matejchuk from really excelling. But I'm just wondering, like before this, like there was no guarantee Fabro was re-signing, right? But so like I really just wonder what happened there.
I think it comes down to like you talked about we talked about New Jersey paying their defenseman a fair bit. Let's say Provorov, you were to sign him to a $7 million AAV. This is how their defense core would look like on the books. You'd have Werenski making 9.5. You'd have Severson making 6.25. Fabro making 4.125. And then you still got good Branson at 4 million, man. Like you'd be paying a lot of money to your D core. And the other thing too, where I'm looking at it for Columbus is, dude, they got a lot of young players coming up here that they're gonna have to pay over the next 2 to 3 seasons. Like you're gonna have to pay Paul
100%.
Sillinger, you're gonna have to pay Igor, Kent Johnson. You're gonna have to pay in 3 years, and he's gonna get probably a $7 million pay bump. You're gonna have to pay Fantilli. And then even this year, they got a fair bit of UFAs still too. So I think Columbus is just kind of looking at it, being like, I don't really know how much he fits into our long term plans, both like cap wise and roster
Is
wise.
it crazy to say that I like literally just went through like the entire NHL and I nothing against Ivan Provorov, but I actually don't think there's going to be that many teams that are interested that could pay him.
No, I'm with you on that, dude. I don't think
I
the
think there's
market's
some
going to be
teams that
huge.
don't have a lot of cap space that would be willing to sign him, but like it's like I was thinking like could Colorado use him? Like probably, but it's like I don't think they're gonna devote 6.5 out of their
Yeah.
$9 million to Ivan Provorov, right? Like I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm looking at LA, I'm looking at Detroit. Like I don't even know who else is really that interested. Unless he wants to go to San Jose and like
You're
be the number one guy. Like where else like let's look, he's not going to Anaheim. He's not going to Columbus. He doesn't fit in Carolina. He doesn't fit in Winnipeg. I think he'd fit in LA. He doesn't fit in Chicago. The Islanders, no, he doesn't fit.
what about
Buffalo, I don't think he'd go there. Like I don't know. Like what other team do you think he fits with?
I got a team for you here. I don't think it's a perfect fit, but I think it could be a fit. The New York Rangers.
See, we're about to get into it. I got Gavrikov going to the Rangers.
You got Gavrikov going to the Rangers?
That's why I don't see it happening.
That's fair. I think the Rangers, if they get Gavrikov, of course, that's not going to happen. But if the Rangers fall out of it with Gavrikov, I think that could be a team that might be in on Provorov. as
Yeah, I
well.
think 100%. I just don't think. My prediction is they're not getting both. It's too much money
Yeah.
to allocate, right? Um, yeah. So I mean, I kind of see LA at the end of the day. I think Detroit is actually a very sneaky number two pick, though.
Mark, you've mentioned Gavrikov a few times here. Let's talk about him. What do you think a contract for him kind of looks like?
Yeah, I've been hearing that apparently like the Rangers are super interested in Gavrikov, and it's like apparently he's very interested in playing like a bigger market. At the
Yeah,
same time, like I mean, like you said, LA, like they kind of are like they're not a like yeah, I don't know, they kind of are a big market, but they kind of aren't at the same time. But
yeah,
like it's not like he came from Columbus before, right? So it's like he's never really been in a big market. I actually look at Gavrikov and I think he would complement a player like Adam Fox really well. Um, Being able to play like top pair minutes with him, he's a pretty good skater. Honestly, I thought that Gavrikov was actually one of the better defensive defensemen in the NHL last year. In accordance to like just in accordance to like statistics with like shutting guys down, right? Like not in accordance to like just being an overall defenseman. Um, I think that the Rangers might get a little silly with this contract, to be quite honest with you. Um, I think that he's getting 7.5 by 7.
7.5 by 7.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna say he gets from 7 years. I'm gonna go 7.5 to $8 million. I think it depends on if there's a bidding war kind of going on with him, but
It's
I
going to
think
be the same teams we talked about, though, right?
yeah,
Like LA would obviously be interested in bringing him back. I heard Columbus was even interested in bringing him back. And then probably Detroit would obviously kick tires on him, but I don't really think there's going to be a ton of teams, dude.
I'm kind of trying to go through and see if there's any more teams here that may be interesting. I think Winnipeg could be an interesting one. The whole thing you just said though about the wanting to play in a bigger market, like that doesn't really work out, but it is going to be a
I don't
lot of
know about
this.
Winnipeg, though. I think they like Dylan Sandberg a lot. And he doesn't really fit in their
Yeah,
top four besides that.
it is it is going to be a lot of the similar markets to Provorov, and I think who like Provorov is going to be the second choice, and I'm guessing I'm going to say New York with you. It's going to be New York 7 by 7.5 to $8 million, I think, for
It's been
Gavrikov.
rumored that he wants to go there, apparently, but I don't know. The same thing with that. It's just like I don't understand. It's like I feel like in this circumstance, it's like it almost feels like there's been some sort of tampering going on too. But I don't know.
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me with the Rangers. That team has been up to a lot of no good things over the past calendar year with the way they've been shipping guys out and all their business antics they've been doing. But yeah, it is going to be interesting to see where Gavrikov ends up going. I know we mentioned sort of Detroit, New York a bit for them. Do you think there's even like any other teams here that may be a good fit?
Um,
Any like sleeper team you think?
I think some of the teams that don't really have a lot of cap space, I think could fit, but it's just not really that realistic, right? Honestly, not really, dude. I don't
Yeah.
really have any other unless like it's like I could see like Nashville being interested, but like I don't really ever see that as an option, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah.
So no, I don't really have another team. Unless Vegas tried to sign him after they lost Petrangelo, but he's also not a right hand shot.
Yeah, I think Vegas is more looking for a right hand shot. And I also
Yeah.
don't know if they'll be wanting to pay a defenseman that much amount of money if they're really trying to get Marner in. Let's take a look at some of these goalies now, though, that are out on the market. Honestly, these goalies really are like it's a tough market here for the goalies this year. The first one we're going to talk about is Lucas Dostal. He is an RFA though, so it's really unlikely that he leaves Anaheim. What do you think a contract for him kind of looks like, though, Mark?
Yeah. Goalie contracts are hard to predict sometimes. But I mean, there's been a pretty good amount of guys that have been re-signed recently. as a little bit older guys, but UFAs. Um, like he's 25 now, but I mean, I'd argue he's turning into a starting goalie. I think last year was definitely a really good start for him. I thought he was probably at worst a top 10 goalie in the league, to be quite honest with you. I know it's only a 903 save percentage, but I feel like that's kind of not realistic to what, you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of in front of him, like the product of the team, right? I think I'd be super comfortable giving him like a 6 by 6, to be honest. Like
That's
in
a
that
good.
range, I think you could maybe go 6.5, and I'd be even willing to do it. But I think you're looking at comparables. It's like Logan Thompson gets just under 6 million, like Blackwood gets just over 5 million, like Vejmelka gets under 5 million, and it's like he's been playing like just as good as some of these guys, right? And it's like he's also
Yeah.
younger, like, and it's like that contract would take him till he's 31. You could probably still get another nice payday, but it's like I also don't think he has a huge leg to stand on where it's like I can get like a bigger contract, and it's like you can't really bridge him because it's like unless you give him a 1 year deal, like he's gonna become a UFA soon, right? So like I think he's their goalie of the future. Like I'm pretty confident that he could be a good goalie for a long time. To be quite honest with you, I think he's got a lot of fundamentals in his game that make him successful. Like that started back when he was in Liga. To be honest with you, and he was having seasons where he was fucking putting up insane stats before he even came over to North America, right? So I have a lot of faith in him personally, and like I wouldn't have a problem saying like I'm confident Lucas Dostal is going to be our guy for like the next 6 years.
Yeah. No, I'm exactly with you on that contract, dude. I think it's gonna be a 5, 6 year deal, and I think it's gonna be at the $6 million AAV. You mentioned some comparables there. Another guy who actually just signed, who I think maybe not a comparable numbers wise and position wise, but it's like Joel Holford just signed a 2 year extension with the Blues and has a cap hit of 3.4 million, right? So if I'm Dostel, I'm looking at that and like, okay, that's a backup goalie. Like
Yeah,
I'm a proven starter over the past year. You guys just shipped out John Gibson. Like I should be making probably double what Holford's making. So 5 or 6 years by $6 million, and then he can still have some room to sign another deal after this one expires. Looking at the UFA goalies now, Mark, this is where it gets pretty slim with your pickings here. Jake Allen's probably the best UFA goalie out on the market right now. What do you think a deal for him is going to look like?
yeah. I mean, never thought I'd be saying the day where like 34-year-old Jake Allen's the best goalie on the UFA market, but
Yep.
I think it honestly is by a pretty wide margin. At this point, yeah, he's an interesting guy, right? I mean, I've had a lot of experience watching him with him being on the Habs for a couple seasons. Um, I think that he's a pretty reliable. I'd say he's a great backup goalie, and I would say that like he could be relied upon as like a 1B. Like
Yeah.
I think when Markstrom was out this year, like he carried the load pretty well at the end of the season. Like New Jersey just didn't score a lot of goals. Um, I'm going to be honest with you. I think since he's the best guy available, I think he might get a little bit of a silly contract. I've been hearing things that teams would be willing to give him $4 million. I think that's a
Yeah.
little bit crazy, to be honest, because I don't think he's worth that. I'm going to say he signs 3.5 for 2 years. That would be my guess for Jake Allen.
3.5 for 2 years. I was going to say 3.5 for 2 to 3 years. I think it really depends on if a team comes in here and gives them a pretty significant overpay. I think because we talked about Granlund and how he's like the centermans are really weak this year for free agency. Like it's a similar thing for goalies, and I could see a team that like would be willing to come in here and overpay him. Is there any teams that you kind of have on on the top of your head though that you think would be a good fit?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of thought about this one for a while because it's like, what team really needs like a good like a good tandem guy or like The thing is, it's like I don't know. Is Jake Allen okay with being a guy like behind Markstrom again, or does he want like an opportunity like almost he had in Montreal where it's like he's fighting for a number one job every night, right?
Yeah.
Like I like until I really know the answer to that question, like I don't really like I feel like I don't really know exactly where he'd go. Some teams I think about. Look, the first team I think about right away, I just have no idea if he'd have any interest in doing it. I think San Jose would sign him in a heartbeat to play with Askarov next season. I don't know if he's willing to do that, though, to be honest with you, going to a bad team at his age. Honestly, two teams that I think that fit fit what I'm saying about he's going to fight for the number one job and potentially get it and still be on the more competitive side. Two teams I look at, Philly and Columbus.
Yeah, Columbus was a big one that I was going to mention.
But it's like if he's willing to be a backup or play less, I could see him going back to New Jersey. Like, would he have any interest in going to Buffalo and playing with Luukkonen?
Yeah,
Probably not.
it also comes down to like what's Buffalo's plan with Levi next year. Is he going to be in the A much? Do you kind of want him up in the NHL, get an opportunity?
Would he go to Edmonton if they can't figure out something with their goaltending?
Yeah, that could be an
Like,
interesting one for sure.
I don't know. I think it really depends. It's like, does he want to to be honest with you, if he goes into Philly or Columbus, I think he's literally their best goalie on both teams. I really do.
Yeah,
I think he's the best goalie on both teams right away, and he'd be the night one starter. But any other place, I think he's like fighting for it, or it's probably just a backup goalie, right? Like I think would be ideal, dude. Like you know how good of a fucking partner he would be for Dustin Wolf.
yeah, that would be a good one.
But it's like I don't know if he would want to do that though. But like he is a Canadian guy, right? But that's the thing, right? It's like, well, what does he really want to do? I think I think that's a huge question in all this. Honestly, I kind of had Detroit on there until they traded Gibson. I thought maybe they run like a Jake Allen, Cam Talbot rotation, but yeah, I honestly I kind of see Philly and Columbus, especially since Columbus traded Tarasov. I don't know if they want to use Jack Greaves as like a full-time NHLer next year. I don't know what they want to do with Elvis, but it's like I think realistically, like if you could bring in Jake Allen, like he's gonna be your best goalie, like right off the hop.
Yeah, for
And
me,
maybe Jake Allen and Merzlikins worked, like them splitting games. Like I don't know, like goalies are nuts, dude. Right? So I don't know. Like, is there anywhere else you kind of see them?
I was thinking the one I was thinking that could be an interesting one to be honest, but it really depends on if they make any moves. Is the Vancouver Canucks? Like, of course, you'd have to move on from Demko in this situation, but if Vancouver was to move on from Demko, which it is possible that that could happen, then I think Vancouver
Do
could.
you not think they'd give Seelovs the opportunity though if they did that?
I think they'd give Seelovs the opportunity, but I think like it would be a tandem. Like it'd be Seelovs' first full year in the NHL. And I think it could be.
No, but they got Lankinen.
I guess they do have Lankinen, true.
Yeah, that's why I didn't really think
Yeah.
of Vancouver. Like, even if they do get rid of Demko, because it's like I feel like if they dump Demko, they're probably gonna give Seelov the
Yeah,
chance,
yeah.
right?
You know, honestly,
So,
like my favorite one is the Columbus.
and it's like I don't think he'd be that opposed to doing it because he's gonna look at it and be like, they just missed the playoffs,
Yeah, like
and they didn't have good goaltending. If I could play like 40, 45 games of like solid goaltending, like we could get into the playoffs. Like, I don't know, man. I think Columbus is kind of a dark horse to sign him this year.
the one that we didn't mention that I think could be interesting would be LA, the Kings.
Yeah, I was thinking, would you think he would go there to play with Kemper? I mean, that'd be more of a situation like last year, though, with
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 Markstrom.
Markstrom, right? I don't know. I don't know what his situation is with New Jersey. I honestly just think he's going to get too much money, and New Jersey just is like, okay, we have Markstrom, like
Yeah.
we don't need to repay or like pay too much for him. So I think he probably would go elsewhere. It's like at the same time too, dude. It's like I think he'd be a pretty good tandem goalie with like Aiden Hill if they lost Samsonov, right? Like
Yeah.
There's other places I could see, but it's just like I just wonder the guy's mentality, right? Like he kind of was a starting goalie, and then it's like it's just over time. I think Jake Allen's been he's had a solid career, right? But it's just like I'd more think that he's been like a 1B most of his career, right? Like when he's been at his best, kind of. So it's just like, does he want a chance where he can be in a tandem, or is he like okay being a backup right now? Like I don't know.
Oh,
We'll see. But I think Columbus is a dark horse. If not, probably Philly.
no, those are two good picks. We'll talk about our last player now here on our contract prediction show. It's another goaltender that's a UFA. It's Dan Vladar. This is a interesting one because once, like after Jake Allen, it's all pretty much backup goaltenders here that you got, and I'm gonna say Dan Vladar gets a 1 year deal making $2 million.
Any team you have in mind?
I think the Flames would maybe bring him back.
I saw they were talking about it.
Like I could see that. Like you still need a goalie there to help out Dustin Wolf, right? Like the Flames could be an interesting one. I think San
I actually
Jose.
kind of San Jose, yeah. I saw something about that, him playing with Askarov, right? Like he's already played a year with a young goalie, right? Like it's not like
Yeah,
he's just experienced that, and it's like it's a place where he would get a lot of games. Like another couple of teams that I kind of see, dude, as a potential fit, depending on obviously what they do, like Vegas maybe. If
yeah,
Samsonov doesn't come
Vegas.
back, I just don't know. If they think Akira Schmid is a backup goalie. That's just my thing. I just don't know if they're going to go out and get one, or they think Schmid is good enough to be one next year. And two other teams I kind of see. If Dave Riddick doesn't go back to LA, I think he's probably a fit behind Darcy Kemper. And then
Yeah,
honestly, dude, I think there's actually a pretty decent possibility that he reunites with Jacob Markstrom in New Jersey if they lose Jake Allen.
yeah, I could see that for sure. You're gonna
They like each other a lot, right? And like it's two big goalies. I think New Jersey would definitely be interested. And I think, like you said, he's probably going to be cheap enough. I could probably even see him signing. I was going to say like 1.75 by two. That was going to be my guess, just because he doesn't really have great numbers overall. But it's like he has a big frame, and it's like I think that if he played behind a good defense, like I think he'd be honestly great with like the Kings. Like they play really good defense. They
yeah,
already have a big goalie. It's like I think it would be like just kind of obviously a drop off in skill wise, but it's like you're playing with a familiar like kind of frame back there, right? So yeah, I didn't really think about San Jose too much. It kind of seems like a good fit if he was willing, but um, if he's just okay being the backup, then I think there's obviously a couple teams, like I said, that could probably sign him and he'd be good.
yeah. And for me, when I'm looking at the goalie market, like we talked about with Provorov and Gavrikov, like it's gonna be two very similar markets for those two players, like what teams are interested there. I feel like for these goalies, it's going to be a lot of these similar markets here, right? It's like, okay, if the Flames don't give Vladar, odds are one of the other five guys in that kind of similar range for goalies is going to go to him, right? Like same thing for the Sharks, same like
Yeah.
similar thing for New Jersey and LA. I feel like it's going to be kind of those kind of teams getting the 4 or 5 guys
I
here.
kind of have two more, maybe even three more teams that I think could be interested, dude. And honestly, dude, I actually have one more team for Jake Allen, too, that I didn't really think about. Jake Allen, considering the situation with Connor Ingram, I think Utah might be interested to run him with Vejmelka. Because I don't know. I heard the Ingram situation's very up in the air of whether he's even playing next year, at least to start. And they are looking for a goalie. And then my other one for Dan Vladar, um, you know what I really wonder? I know they signed him to an extension and he's going to be making $2 million. But I really wonder, considering the season he had last year, and they can do this because he hasn't played enough NHL games. I wonder if Minnesota starts Wallstead in the AHL.
See, I
The
was looking.
Carolina did it. Carolina did it with Kochetkov when they gave him an extension, and he was making $2 million in the AHL. I just wonder because Wallstead was kind of injured. He played brutal. He got signed to that extension where he's making NHL money. Like maybe Dan Vladar goes to Minnesota. if they can, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
if they say that, or if they want Wallstead in the AHL.
that is a really interesting one. The only thing I look at there is that it really it makes it hard to call up Wallstead at some point throughout the season, though, right? Because then it's like if you are calling him up, then you got to put Vladar onto waivers.
Well, not necessarily. I mean, depending how many roster spots you had, right? If you
Yeah,
wanted to use a player, you could, but also there could be injuries, right, at the same time. But I just wonder if they really think Wallstead is ready, considering the season he came off of, and it's like he's not going to be like the NHL's not a development league, right?
yeah,
And also I say Kochetkov was sent down. Spencer Knight was also sent down too, right? Like he
yep.
was on a conditioning loan, whatever, for that whole year with Charlotte, making $4.5 million. So I just really wonder if Minnesota is going to do that with Wallstead, considering they are losing Fleury. And I just don't know if they feel like Wallstead is ready to rush him. And one other team for Vladar too. Pardon me. I was kind of surprised about this, but Ottawa does not. Really believe that Levi Marilainen is ready to be in the NHL, I think. So they are also kind of in the hunt for a backup goalie, which kind of surprises
Yep.
me. Marilainen played well in the 12 games that he played last year. And I'm surprised they don't want him to learn from a guy like Allmark. Well, I'm sure it'll probably happen eventually, but maybe if you get Dan Vladar for like 1 year or something, maybe that'll work out. But I'm a bit surprised on that. I thought they would probably bring up Marilainen this year, considering they don't want to spend a lot of money too, and like they've kind of put an internal budget on their team, like to get a young goalie with already had experience, and he can learn from like a Vesna winner, you know what I mean, and
Yeah.
like a really good pro. But maybe they'll be in the dark horse for a guy like Dan Vladar.
No, there definitely are a fair bit of teams out there right now that need kind of either a 1B or a backup goalie. So it'll be interesting to see how the goalie market kind of plays out here. Mark, I know earlier when we were talking about the Granlund contract, we kind of said we might have to make a bet on this. So I came up with a bet here while we were doing the second part of this show. You think he's going to make over $7 million, right?
Yeah.
So here's the bet. If Granlund next season is going to be making over $7 million, whenever we're doing the podcast breaking down the team that he's going to play for while making that $7 million, you have to wear a pair of money glasses, a pair of money sunglasses. And if he's making less, sorry, if
No,
he's making,
you would
I
wear it
have
if
to,
he's
I
making
have
more.
to, and then if he's making less than 6.5, you have to, or pardon me,
Six and a half?
less than seven, you have to. So more than seven,
Okay.
I have to wear the glasses. You then less than
Are
seven.
we doing it too, like whenever we talk about that team? Like if it's like we bring up the Canucks, we're like in the middle
Yeah.
of the pod, we're gonna be like, boom.
When
It's
that
like
whole
rolling the disclaimer.
yeah, rolling this disclaimer just for the amount of time we're talking about that team too, because we're not wearing it for the whole pod. That'd be
Dude,
too.
I thought you were gonna make it 7.5, and I was a bit nervous, but I feel more confident that you did 7.
No, we'll do seven. I feel like seven's a nice number because then
I'm down for that bet.
if you make 7.49, then it's like that kind of sucks.
Yeah, we'll do 7. If it hits a 7, you got to do it. If not, I'll do it. That's completely fair.
All right, we'll shake on that next time we see each other in person. Overall, though, that's going to wrap up today's episode. I know there's a lot of trades that kind of went down over the past little bit. Some guys have already signed. We also had the draft, and we didn't really talk about that too much this episode. What we're
No,
going to be trying to
absolutely.
do is we're going to be trying to sort of talk about all that stuff when we're doing team breakdowns throughout the summer, because we're going to be continuing on through with podcasts throughout the summer, doing more like in-depth dive onto teams and what their off seasons have looked like. So stay tuned for those. But for everybody listening in right now, thanks for tuning in.